What's going on, guys? Welcome back. Another Next Gen Madden 15 video. PS4. Do me a favor, take a moment, like button, subscribe button, criticism in the comment section, Twitter, shutdown safety. You know, myself and BB played a couple games last night. I've got a whole bunch of content coming up from those. Well, we took a minute before the game to just take a look at the details in these stadiums. I actually posted some up on Twitter, but I wanted to revisit it with a video. You know, I've been pretty fortunate because of the community. I've been able to meet the guys that develop and program this game, and I can tell you straight off the bat, it's not laziness, it's not a lack of passion, and I realize a lot of you aren't that fortunate, so you're just left with the game to come to your own conclusions about the efforts that are put into this product. And, you know, having said that, if you're not going to do something right, why do it at all? If you don't have the resources to do things correctly, you know, can you at least not make sure they look as good as possible? You know, when you've got little details, black and white stuff, simple stuff that we're going to talk about in this video, and it's common and easy to see that they're not done correctly, you know, can you not have enough pride to get those little things right? And if you don't, what about the larger things? You know, what about the things we can't see? What about the coding? If you're willing to make the game look this unfinished, what's happening on the back end of this? You know, the fact that most people defend this game or defend the developers, to me, it just shows that this game is not capable of speaking or standing for itself. You know, 2 years into a next-gen console. You know, rather than defend the game, defend the people that make it, let's do the fair thing, the unbiased thing. You know, let's let the game speak for itself. You know, but we're only going to have that happen if you've got people in this community willing to put in the time to do honest breakdowns and assess what's going on with this game. And right now, I just don't see that from a lot of people. You know, a prime example would be the facial scans. I'm glad they're in the game. I don't understand why it took 3/4 of the way through the actual season to get it done. I don't understand why it took 5 months of this game being on a shelf to get it done. Because by then, most casual gamers, heck, a lot of gamers, have pulled Madden out of their rotation. Didn't those gamers deserve to have the best experience out of the box that they possibly could from day one? You know, personally, me, I would think so. So, first thing we're going to do, man, we're going to take a look at Jim Harbaugh here. Everybody knows Jim Harbaugh. You love him or you hate him, but you know that he wears a red Sharpie. In this game, he actually wears a whistle. You know, why would a coach wear a whistle? I don't understand. Is he going to call his own penalties today? What is the point of that? What is the point of getting that wrong? Why would you do that? You know, you take a look at this crowd, and there's no females. That's been talked about before, but, you know, every game, you've got this guy in the peach-colored shirt. You've got the guy in the lime shirt. You've got so many people wearing the same thing in such a close proximity. I mean, these white shirts with the blue horseshoes, were they, you know, given away at the game? Were they on sale this week? You know, what exactly is the deal with the repetition of shirt styles in such a close proximity? You know, and I realize people are going to say, well, you know, this is nitpicking, and to a degree, it absolutely is. But on the other side of it, I think it also shows exactly what I talked about. You know, what is actually being put forth in terms of an effort into this game. You know, when I come over here and I look at this guy in the red shirt and the white shirt there, second row, pretty good seats, you know, if it's a real game. But you learn, apparently, that the player is tethered to the seat. And when you smash these seats together on an angle, they actually start to shift and morph together. You know, you can see all of a sudden these guys are just going to start, you know, morphing through each other here as they move. You know, why would that happen? Why should that happen? You know, crowd morphing. You know, I don't recall seeing that in prior titles with Madden. You know, maybe all this video has been done in vain. Maybe this is a new option. Maybe it's a new feature. But it certainly looks unfinished to me. I'd love to know your guys' opinions on it. I appreciate you checking it out. And, you know, I'll be back in the week with more content.